Before we drift into tonight's tale of the growth of Jake the dog, I'd love to know where in the world are you watching from tonight? And what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. Our story tonight starts in the quiet, mysterious corners of Ooh, where legends are often hidden in the smallest of details, and where every character, even those who appear the most carefree, holds a story rich with wonder and meaning. Jake the dog, the ever-stretchy companion of Finn, might seem at first like the easygoing jokester of the land. But if we trace his roots, if we step softly back to the beginning, we find something stranger, older, and far more magical woven into his story. Jake was not born in the usual way that most dogs come into the world. His parents, Joshua and Margaret, were brave adventurers in their own right, detectives of sorts, guardians of their home, always finding themselves tangled in mystery. It was during one of those strange encounters that Jake's true origin began to take shape. For you see, Jake came into this world because of a clash with a creature unlike any other, the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter was no ordinary foe. It was a slippery, uncanny being, more liquid than flesh, its body ever-changing, its form impossible to pin down. Joshua, ever the determined father, once fought against this creature in the heat of battle. But in that fight, something unexpected happened. The shapeshifter bit Joshua, a bite that carried more than pain. It carried essence, power, and transformation. From that moment on, Joshua was marked by magic, a strange force lingering inside him. And when Jake was born, this magic took root in him fully. While his brother Jermaine entered the world as an ordinary pup, Jake emerged already different, stretchy, malleable, able to bend and twist his body in impossible ways. He was a child of two worlds, the ordinary, loyal dog family that raised him, and the strange legacy of a shapeless monster that gave him his powers. It is this strange union of love and otherworldly essence that made Jake who he was destined to be. Think about that for a moment. Jake's very being is a contradiction, a creature who radiates warmth and humor, yet whose powers come from something eerie and unsettling. And yet doesn't that feel perfectly fitting for the land of Ooh? A place where joy and strangeness always intertwine. From the moment he could toddle around, Jake's powers set him apart. Imagine being a little pup, learning you could grow taller than a tree one moment, and then curl into the size of a teacup the next. For Jake, this wasn't just a trick, it was who he was, and it would shape every path he walked. As a child, Jake might not have fully understood the gift he carried. Powers like his can be a blessing, but they also carry weight. To be able to change form so easily, to slip through spaces and reshape oneself at will, is to live without the boundaries that most others face. And perhaps this is why Jake developed such a relaxed, carefree personality. When you are born with powers that can solve so many problems instantly, it becomes easier to shrug off life's worries. Yet beneath that ease was a strange truth, that his existence was tied to something alien, a creature born of shadows and shifting flesh. Still, Joshua and Margaret raised him with love. They treated Jake not as a monster's child, but as their own son. And alongside Jermaine and later Finn, Jake's heart grew warm with family. This is one of the most beautiful contrasts in his story. The origins of his body might have been strange, but the origins of his heart were simple. He was love, and that love rooted him deeply, making sure he would grow not into something dark, but into something bright. The bond between Jake and Finn would eventually become legendary, but in these early years, it was just a bond of two brothers growing side by side. Finn, the human boy with a restless spirit, and Jake, the magical dog with a calm, stretching form. Their destinies were tied from the beginning, and though Jake's powers set him apart, it was the closeness of their relationship that gave him direction. Jake didn't need to be defined by his strange birth. He was defined by the people he chose to stand beside. Still, the echoes of his origin linger in subtle ways. Jake's powers never truly resembled anyone else's in Ooh. Other magical creatures often had limits or specific rules tied to their abilities, but Jake's stretching seemed boundless. He could be a giant, a shield, a bridge, or even something as small as a key. This adaptability mirrors the very nature of the shapeshifter who had once bitten Joshua. But unlike that sinister creature, Jake's gift was reshaped through love, given new purpose in the hands of someone kind-hearted. This strange duality, born from darkness, yet raised in warmth, would follow Jake throughout his life. And even though he would often brush off heavy thoughts with jokes and food, there's something almost cosmic about his beginning. It's as if the universe itself placed a piece of mystery into his body, while giving him a soul gentle enough to carry it with grace. And so when we look at Jake's origins, we see more than just a magical dog. We see the blending of two worlds, the ordinary and the extraordinary, the light and the shadow. His story begins not with a simple birth, but with a strange, fateful moment of transformation. A bite in the dark, and a child who would become one of the most important beings in the land of U. As Jake grew, his powers began to reveal themselves in more playful, sometimes chaotic ways. Imagine him bounding across the house, stretching his legs to climb impossible shelves, or puffing his body into a balloon just to float lazily across the ceiling. For Margaret and Joshua, it must have been both bewildering and endearing to watch their pup shapeshift as easily as breathing. They never treated him like an oddity. To them, Jake was simply Jake, a son who needed guidance, affection, and a place in the family. His brother Jermaine, grounded and steady, was quite different from him. Where Jake drifted toward mischief, Jermaine leaned into responsibility, caring for the home and their parents' legacy. This difference sometimes put a quiet distance between them, but it also highlighted Jake's unique path. Unlike Jermaine, Jake didn't feel bound to rules or duties. He was already bending the rules of nature with his very body. Freedom seemed to flow in his veins. Yet Jake wasn't entirely carefree. His powers, as wondrous as they were, also brought challenges. At times he had to learn the limits of his stretching, testing how far he could go before exhaustion overtook him. He learned that his powers could be silly, like turning into a chair for someone to sit on, but also protective, shielding Finn from harm and the adventures to come. This dual purpose would follow him throughout his life, playful at heart, yet always capable of stepping into the role of guardian when needed. But before Finn came into the picture, Jake lived in a world already brimming with strangeness. The land of U itself was like a patchwork quilt of magic, technology, and remnants of a world long destroyed. It was here that Jake's powers didn't make him an outcast, but rather wove him naturally into the fabric of his home. In U, the extraordinary was ordinary, and Jake fit right in. Perhaps that's why his unusual origin never defined him in a tragic way. Unlike some characters who carried the burden of their pasts heavily, Jake floated above his, treating his existence as a gift rather than a curse. This perspective, however, may have been shaped by something deeper than his personality alone. It's possible that Jake's powers gave him a subconscious understanding of impermanence. When your body can change shape at will, becoming tall, short, wide, or thin in an instant, you come to see form as something flexible, not fixed. Jake lived in a world where identity wasn't rigid, and that may be why he accepted both himself and others so easily, rarely judging, always flowing with the current of life. Even so, the shadow of the shapeshifter lingered in the ways Jake never seemed to fully acknowledge. The creature who bit Joshua was slippery, unsettling, and perhaps even malicious. Jake's existence, then, is proof of how darkness can sometimes give rise to light. This theme of strange, even frightening origins leading to something good echoes throughout Adventure Time. It reminds us that beauty often grows from unlikely soil. Jake, embodying this paradox, became a symbol of resilience, a playful testament that what matters most is not where you came from, but how you live. And while Jake himself might never have dwelled on these philosophical ideas, the show leaves us space to do so. Watching him, we see how someone with a bizarre, almost monstrous origin can grow into a figure of warmth and joy. It tells us something quietly profound. Our beginnings may shape us, but they don't define the totality of who we are. The most important moment in Jake's early life wasn't just his birth, though. It was the moment he met Finn. A human boy in a land where humans were rare, Finn was searching for connection, for someone to share his adventures with. Jake, in turn, offered exactly that. Their meeting was more than friendship. It was destiny. From the start, Jake wasn't just Finn's companion. He was his brother, his mentor, and sometimes even his anchor. The two of them completed each other, each filling the gaps the other lacked. Jake's magical beginnings, then, are not only about how he came into the world, but also about the world he chose to help shape with Finn by his side. His powers, born of something eerie, became tools of heroism and love, and his personality, softened by family and companionship, transformed what could have been a curse into a lifelong blessing. As we drift deeper into Jake's origins, it becomes clear that his growth cannot be measured only by what he could do with his body. His true growth began here, in how he turned a mysterious and uncertain beginning into a foundation for joy, loyalty, and adventure. His childhood laid the groundwork for the dog we would come to know. Playful, wise in hidden ways, and always stretching, not just in body but in spirit. When we pause to think about Jake's beginning, there's something almost mythological about it. Many great figures and stories across time are given unusual origins. Heroes born of lightning, kings hidden away in humble cradles, or beings gifted power by strange chance. Jake's tale, too, belongs to that lineage. Oh, he was not simply a dog who could stretch. He was the child of an accident, an encounter with a creature who had no fixed form. And yet, from that odd encounter, a protector was born. It feels almost as though the universe itself intended for him to carry a piece of magic that would guide not only his path, but Finn's as well. As he grew older, Jake's playful spirit only deepened. He used his stretching powers in ways that seemed almost instinctive. To him, changing shape was no stranger than wagging his tail. He would amuse himself and others by transforming into silly shapes, or by making himself comically small and sneaking into spaces he had no business being in. This light-hearted experimentation carried something important. It was practice. Every joke, every silly stretch, was also Jake learning, without realizing it, the full scope of his gift. Joshua and Margaret likely watched all this with a mixture of amusement and quiet awe. Their son, though born under strange circumstances, was happy. And in a world filled with ruins and monsters, perhaps that happiness was more magical than the powers themselves. For a child of such origins to grow with laughter rather than fear was a blessing that would ripple out far beyond their home. It's worth remembering that Jake was not alone in these years. Jermaine, though more serious, provided a balance. Where Jake leaned toward play, Jermaine reminded him of stability. And soon, the circle of family expanded in the most important way, with Finn. Finn's arrival into their lives gave Jake something even greater than a playground for his abilities. It gave him a brother to protect, a friend to nurture, and a partner for every adventure that lay ahead. From the very start, Jake's relationship with Finn was shaped by his magical origin. Finn was human, fragile in ways Jake was not. But Jake's powers allowed him to step into the role of protector with ease. He could stretch into a shield, wrap himself around Finn to keep him safe, or transform into tools that made the impossible possible. What began as simple play soon blossomed into acts of quiet heroism. Jake didn't have to think hard about how to help. His powers allowed him to respond instinctively, bending his body to meet any need. There's a certain comfort in this image, isn't there? A boy and his dog venturing out into the wild world of ooh. But this was no ordinary boy and no ordinary dog. Together, they were more than friends. They were a unit, a bond that transformed strange beginnings into something strong and unshakable. And yet, hidden beneath these warm beginnings is the reminder that Jake's magic carried echoes of the shapeshifter. The same powers that allowed Jake to become a shield for Finn once belonged to a creature who thrived in deception. Where the shapeshifter used its fluid body to unsettle and deceive, Jake used his to comfort and protect. In this contrast lies the heart of Jake's growth. His origin was shadowed, but his choices led him into the light. Adventure Time often plays with themes of duality, of light and dark, joy and sorrow, life and decay. Jake's birth is one of those quiet examples. It shows us that from something eerie and dangerous can emerge something gentle and good. Jake's existence whispers of balance, of how the land of Uu itself is a place where contradictions live side by side. Another fascinating detail about Jake's origins is how little he seemed to worry about them himself. While other characters in Uu might struggle with their purpose or identity, Jake moved through life with remarkable acceptance. He never agonized over what he was or where his powers came from. Perhaps that is what made him so special. While others wrestled with the weight of destiny, Jake simply lived. He embraced the joy of food, music, and naps. And in doing so, he found a kind of peace that others could not. His origins could have haunted him. Instead, they became just one more part of who he was. But just because Jake didn't dwell on his beginnings doesn't mean they weren't important. For us, as quiet observers of his story, they tell us something profound about growth. Growth doesn't mean escaping your origin. It means transforming them. Jake carried the mark of a monster's bite, and yet he became one of the most loving figures in Uu. That is the quiet miracle of his magical beginning. As we linger in this part of Jake's story, it's helpful to imagine his childhood home, a place filled with both ordinary warmth and subtle magic. The smell of food cooked by Margaret, the sound of Joshua's firm but caring voice, the small moments of sibling quarrels with Jermaine. Amid these domestic scenes, Jake would stretch his arms across a room or balloon into a giant cushion for his brothers. He was both extraordinary and ordinary at once, straddling the line between the magical and the mundane. And when Finn entered the family, Jake's powers became something more than tricks or toys. They became a way to help shape a young boy's destiny. Finn grew up with Jake as both protector and companion, and this bond is what anchored Jake's powers in love. Without Finn, Jake might have simply been a carefree trickster, but with Finn, he became something greater, a partner in a shared story of growth. This is why Jake's beginnings matter so deeply. His strange birth was not just about where he came from, but about what it enabled him to become. It gave him the tools to protect, the flexibility to adapt, and the freedom to live lightly. And when paired with Finn's determination and courage, those tools blossomed into something that would change the fate of Uu. As Jake's story unfolds from these earliest years, there is a quiet sense that his life was always meant to carry both mystery and comfort. Unlike many figures in the land of Uu, Jake never sought to uncover every secret about himself. He never questioned endlessly why he was born the way he was. Instead, he simply embraced the life he had been given, and this attitude shaped his earliest growth. He was not a creature weighed down by destiny. He was a being who turned fate into play. And yet, even within his play, there was something profound happening. The powers that had come from the shapeshifter gave Jake a natural closeness to the strange and the uncanny. But rather than leaning toward fear or suspicion, Jake found ease as strangeness. He stretched not only his body, but also his acceptance of the unusual. To Jake, the bizarre nature of Uu was not something to resist. It was something to flow with. His magical beginnings gave him a perspective that would later make him both wise and comforting to others, even when he himself didn't realize. The shape-shifting creature who had once left its mark on Joshua probably never imagined that its influence would result in someone like Jake. Where the shapeshifter thrived in chaos, Jake thrived in harmony. Where the creature used its shifting form to unsettle, Jake used his stretching body to bring peace, to solve problems, and to spread joy. This transformation is the true magic of Jake's beginning, the turning of something unsettling into something good. There's also an almost poetic symmetry in the way Jake's life began with an act of violence, a bite, and yet grew into a life defined by love. Violence created the potential for his existence, but love shaped what he became. His parents' care, his brother's companionship, and Finn's friendship all molded him into a figure of warmth. It's as if the universe planted a seed in the soil of chaos, and from that soil, a flower of laughter and loyalty bloomed. When we think about Jake as an adult, the musician, the adventurer, the father, it's easy to forget just how strange his beginnings were. But if we trace back through the years, we see that this foundation explains so much of who he is. His calmness in the face of danger, his comfort with oddities, his ability to live without fear of change, all of these qualities connect back to his magical start. A child born of shifting essence could never cling to rigid ideas of what life should be. Instead, Jake learned to bend, to adapt, and to embrace the ever-changing nature of the world. This makes Jake a kind of mirror for itself. The land was born from destruction, from the mushroom war that shattered the old world and left behind a landscape of strangeness and rebirth. Out of devastation came beauty, wonder, and life in forms no one could have predicted. And out of the bite of a dark creature came Jake, whose life would echo that same theme, renewal through change. In this way, Jake is more than just a magical dog. He is the reflection of Oo's resilience. We can also see hints of this connection in the way Jake approached adventure. For him, quests and battles were rarely just about danger or survival. They were games, puzzles, or opportunities for creativity. His perspective was shaped by knowing that form is never fixed, that solutions are always possible if you can stretch far enough. Even in the earliest days with Finn, Jake's approach to life brought balance. Finn charged forward with courage, while Jake eased the weight with humor and flexibility. Together, they embodied a balance of growth, one pushing upward, the other flowing outward. No. And it all began here, in the mystery of his origin. Without that strange bite, without the magic infused in Joshua's body, there would be no Jake. Without Jake, Finn's life would have been lonelier, harsher, perhaps even cut short. The destinies of both boy and dog were shaped by the single, fateful event. And so we find ourselves marveling at how even the smallest, strangest moments can ripple outward, shaping the future of an entire world. There is something soothing about this idea, isn't there? That growth can emerge from the unlikeliest beginnings. That even when something seems frightening, it may carry within it the seed of joy. Jake's magical beginnings whisper this lesson to us. They remind us that what matters most is not the darkness that lies behind us, but the light we choose to nurture as we move forward. And as Jake's childhood gives way to the years of adventure, this theme will follow him. His growth is not about outrunning his origin, but about embracing them, transforming them, and turning them into something new. That is the quiet, cosmic beauty of Jake the dog. As we drift deeper into the story of Jake the dog, we leave behind his magical beginnings and step into the wide, colorful world where his carefree nature shines the brightest. This is the part of his life where Jake isn't weighed down by destiny or legacy, but instead spends his days living, laughing, and adventuring with Finn. It's here that we really see Jake as the trickster, the jokester, and the easygoing spirit that makes him one of the most beloved characters in all of Adventure Time. Jake's early adventures paint him as the perfect foil to Finn's boundless energy and determination. While Finn often charges ahead with a heroic gleam in his eyes, Jake tends to hang back, cracking jokes, playing tunes on his viola, or turning into bizarre shapes just to lighten the mood. It's in these moments that we start to understand Jake's philosophy of life. Don't sweat the small stuff, and maybe don't sweat the big stuff either, if you can laugh your way through it. One of the first things that stands out about Jake in these early adventures is his playful relationship with his powers. He doesn't just stretch to fight enemies or solve problems. He stretches because it's fun. He'll turn into a chair when Finn is tired, a parachute when they're falling, or a giant hand to slap something silly. For Jake, these abilities aren't a burden or a destiny to fulfill. They're toys. They're extensions of his personality, wild and imaginative, just like him. And this playful use of power becomes a core part of who Jake is. And yet Jake's trickster nature doesn't just stop with his powers. It extends into his personality and how he approaches the world around him. He's the kind of character who would rather trick an enemy than fight them head on. He'll talk circles around a foe, throw out a joke to diffuse tension, or convince Finn to take a chill approach when things seem too intense. For Jake, cleverness often beats confrontation. He isn't lazy, though it might look that way sometimes. He just prefers to take the winding path instead of running headlong into danger. This carefree streak also shows up in how Jake approaches friendship and responsibility. He loves Finn, truly and deeply, but he also teases him endlessly. He might let Finn take the lead on adventure, watching with a grin as his little brother hurls himself into danger, while Jake provides backup with a calm, collected energy. He doesn't worry about being the main hero because he doesn't need that spotlight. To Jake, being there, being supportive, and keeping things light is enough. One early example that captures Jake's trickster spirit is his love for game. Not just actual board games or card games, but life itself is a game. He's the type to invent strange competitions like who can eat the weirdest food in Ooh or who can shout the loudest into a canyon. He thrives on playful chaos, and his joy becomes contagious to everyone around him. Finn might start off serious, but with Jake by his side, even he can't help but join in on the nonsense. And then there's Jake's music. His viola may not be the most beautiful instrument in the land, but it carries his carefree soul. When Jake plays, it's not polished or perfect, but it has warmth. It has that laid-back quality that makes you smile even if it sounds a little off. His songs often pop up in the middle of adventures, completely derailing the tension and reminding everyone that life isn't just about fighting monsters or saving kingdoms. It's also about enjoying the simple, silly moments along the way. But Jake's early adventures aren't all jokes and game. There's a subtle wisdom under his carefree exterior. He might clown around, but when Finn needs him, Jake always knows when to step in. Sometimes that means offering actual advice, encouraging Finn to follow his heart or not overthink things. Other times it's just about being present, turning into a shield when Finn needs protection, or giving him a nudge toward bravery when doubt creeps in. This balance between trickster and protector, between jokester and guide, is what makes Jake so compelling in these early days. He's not just comic relief, he's the steady heartbeat of Finn's journey. Jake's playful spirit also reveals itself in how he views danger. Where Finn sees a dragon, a dungeon, or a deadly monster as a problem to be conquered, Jake often treats them like obstacles in a game. He'll crack a pun, pull a silly face, or stretch himself into some ridiculous shape that leaves even their enemies scratching their heads. It's almost as if Jake knows that laughter itself can be a weapon, disarming fear before it takes hold. Think about the times when Finn was about to lose himself in the seriousness of being a hero. Jake would step in with some offbeat perspective. Maybe he'd say something like, "Dude, you don't have to punch everything in the face to solve it." Or he'd distract Finn with a goofy plan that somehow ended up working better than the original. This is Jake's genius. His ability to take the tension out of a situation without undermining the importance. He makes adventure sustainable because he reminds everyone to breathe. It's also during these early escapades that Jake's love for food really comes into focus. Whether it's stacks of bacon pancakes or an obsession with some strange snack found deep in Ooh, Jake's appetite becomes a running. It adds to his carefree aura, because for Jake, joy is often as simple as a good meal. Eating isn't just about sustenance. It's a celebration of the moment, a chance to pause in the middle of chaos and enjoy life's simple pleasure. And yet while he seems lazy at times, Jake is never careless. He may nap under a tree while Finn investigates a mystery, but when things go sideways, he's there in an instant. His laid-back nature is often misunderstood as a lack of seriousness, but in reality, it's his confidence shining through. Jake knows what he's capable of, and because of that, he doesn't feel the need to prove himself constantly. That calm energy is part of what makes him such a vital counterpart to Finn's fiery determination. Another defining trait of Jake in these early days is his storytelling. He loves to exaggerate, to spin wild tales that may or may not have a grain of truth. One day he's bragging about adventures he had before Finn was born. The next, he's describing something so outlandish it borders on nonsense. And yet, these stories capture the imagination, pulling Finn, and us as the audience, into a world where anything feels possible. Even if Jake is embellishing, his stories serve a purpose. They keep the wonder alive. There's also the matter of Jake's trickster streak showing up in more mischievous ways. He doesn't just joke around with Finn, he pulls pranks, tests boundaries, and occasionally bends the rules of ooh to his own advantage, but is never malicious. Jake's pranks are rooted in fun, designed to spark laughter or shake Finn out of a too serious mindset. If there's one thing Jake dislikes, it's seeing his brother weighed down by worry. Some of the funniest moments from this stage of his journey come from how casually Jake approaches situations that would terrify anyone else. He might stroll into a monster's lair humming a tune, or roll his eyes at a villain's dramatic speech before shapeshifting into something absurd. That blend of fearlessness and silliness makes him unpredictable, and in many ways unstoppable, because how do you fight someone who refuses to take you seriously? But alongside the silliness, Jake also models an important lesson: adaptability. His powers give him the freedom to change shape at will, and he uses this as both a survival tool and a playful outlet, whether he's inflating into a massive shield, squeezing into impossible spaces, or becoming a trampoline for Finn. Jake's flexibility, literally and figuratively, represents his worldview. Life will throw strange things at you, so why not stretch with it? These early adventures also show the depth of Jake and Finn's bond. While Finn might call Jake lazy or too easygoing, the truth is, Finn trusts him completely. When the danger peaks and things get chaotic, Finn doesn't hesitate to rely on Jake's strength, his quick thinking, or his unique way of turning the impossible into something manageable. And Jake, for all his trickster energy, never fails him. Theirs is a partnership built not just on brotherhood, but on balance. It's worth noticing how these early days define Jake in the eyes of others too. To outsiders, he's the funny sidekick, the shape-shifting dog who tags along with the real hero, Finn. But we, as sleepy dreamers drifting through the story, can see that Jake is much more than that. He's the grounding force, the voice of humor, and sometimes even the hidden wisdom that keeps Finn's flame burning without burning out. As Jake's lighthearted personality shines, we begin to see how his approach to life shapes not only his own path, but Finn's as well. Jake's carefree attitude doesn't just offer comic relief. It quietly teaches Finn that heroism isn't only about swinging swords or facing down villains. It's also about enjoying the world you're protecting, about finding joy even when shadows loom. Take, for example, the way Jake interacts with the strange and whimsical citizens of Ooh. Where Finn might march forward ready to help or defend, Jake is more likely to stop and chat, to tease them with a harmless joke, or to simply listen to their odd stories. In doing so, he shows Finn and us that there's more to adventure than the battle itself. The journey is filled with voices, laughter, and countless fleeting connections that give life texture. This perspective also shows up in how Jake handles responsibility. Unlike Finn, who carries the weight of being a hero quite seriously, Jake approaches it with balance. If Finn pushes too hard, Jake reminds him to rest. If Finn doubts himself, Jake nudges him with a joke that turns the tension into something manageable. In a world as unpredictable as Ooh, this balance is essential. Without Jake's laid-back counterweight, Finn's fire might burn too bright, too fast. There's also something almost ancient about Jake's wisdom, hidden beneath the playful exterior. Though he's often portrayed as a joker, there are moments when his advice lands with surprising depth. He might shrug and say, "Don't worry about it, dude." But within that shrug is a lifetime of experience. Jake isn't dismissive. He's reminding Finn that not everything requires overthinking. But sometimes the best way forward is simply to move with the flow of life. And this is where we see Jake's trickster archetype emerge most clearly. In mythologies across cultures, trickster figures often challenge the seriousness of the world. They are shapeshifters, pranksters, disruptors of the rigid order. But beneath the surface, they serve a vital role, reminding others that the world is not fixed, that creativity and adaptability are just as important as strength and courage. Jake embodies this archetype in Ooh, teaching Finn, sometimes through humor, sometimes through sheer unpredictability, that there is more than one way to be a hero. One moment that captures this beautifully is when Jake invents elaborate and often ridiculous plans on the spot. Instead of going in with a sword raised high, he might suggest turning into a giant horse, or sneaking in, disguised as something bizarre. While Finn might initially resist these silly strategies, they often work. And in that, Jake shows that imagination is not just for fun. It's a weapon, a shield, and sometimes a key to survival. These antics also reveal something deeper. Jake's trust in his own instinct. He doesn't second-guess himself the way Finn sometimes does. When Jake says, "I got this," he means it, and he follows through in his own way. This quiet confidence reassures Finn and strengthens their bond, because Finn learns to rely on Jake's intuition just as much as his own courage. Together, they become two halves of a single force, one fiery, one laid back, but both essential. Another aspect of Jake's carefree adventures is his sense of play. To him, the line between battle and play is often blurred. Fighting a monster might be terrifying for Finn, but for Jake, it's another opportunity to stretch, twist, and experiment with his powers in new and funny ways. He turns chaos into a playground, and that mindset helps Finn approach danger with a lighter heart. It doesn't mean the stakes are lower, but it does mean they don't have to be crushing. This sense of play extends into how Jake deals with mistakes. Where Finn might feel guilt or frustration if things don't go perfectly, Jake brushes it off with a laugh. If he fails, he shrugs and tries again. This resilience, rooted in humor, becomes one of Jake's greatest strengths. By refusing to dwell on setback, he models a kind of emotional flexibility that proves invaluable as their adventures grow more complex. And yet, we mustn't mistake Jake's early trickster ways for immaturity. Beneath the jokes and laziness, Jake shows an understanding of life's rhythms that Finn has yet to learn. He knows when to act and when to rest, when to laugh, when to take things seriously. His carefree exterior hides a quiet mastery of balance, the kind that only becomes more apparent as his story unfolds. Looking back on these early days, it's clear that Jake's role was never just to follow Finn's lead. He was guiding in his own way, gently steering Finn toward a broader understanding of what it means to live fully, even amidst the strange and often dangerous world of ooh. Through pranks, jokes, food, naps, and wild stretches of imagination, Jake laid the foundation for lessons Finn would carry with him throughout his own growth. And so in these first chapters of his journey, Jake emerges not only as the trickster who lightens the mood, but also as the quiet teacher, the shape-shifting sage hidden beneath the laughter. His carefree adventures are more than they seem. They are the gentle shaping of a hero's heart. If we take a step back and listen to the rhythm of Jake's early adventures, we can hear the steady beat of a life lived without hurry. His playful choices, his trickster energy, and his laid-back wisdom create a melody that balances Finn's fiery drive. But beyond his bond with Finn, these moments also show us how Jake fits into the wider world of ooh, how his presence leaves ripples across the lives of those they meet. Consider how Jake interacts with Princess Bubblegum, for instance. Where Finn is often nervous, awkward, or overly eager to impress, Jake slides into the conversation with ease. He cracks jokes, lounges without a care, and treats her not as a distant monarch, but as an old friend. This dynamic reveals something vital about Jake's worldview. Titles and hierarchy don't intimidate. Whether it's a princess, a demon, or a simple candy citizen, Jake approaches everyone with the same relaxed warmth. That simple outlook disarms people, reminding us that sometimes respect is best shown not through stiffness, but through ease and authenticity. With Marceline, too, Jake reveals another side of himself. He teases, plays music, and doesn't feel threatened by her darker, edgier energy. Instead, he meets it with a grin, creating harmony rather than tension. Jake's adaptability makes him a bridge between personalities, a unifying thread that helps the group stay connected. While Finn may at times clash with Marceline's more mischievous nature, Jake thrives in it, showing us that he is not just Finn's partner, but a glue that holds the wider family of Ooh's heroes together. And then there are the smaller figures of Ooh, the oddball characters, the strange villagers, the quirky creatures scattered across the land. Time and again, Jake greets them with curiosity instead of suspicion. He is just as willing to share a joke with a harmless tree witch as he is to tease a goblin guard. This instinctive openness shows how Jake embodies one of the gentlest forms of heroism, making others feel seen and at ease, no matter how strange or small they may be. But what makes Jake's carefree spirit truly fascinating is how it stands in contrast to the looming shadows of Oo's post-apocalyptic history. In a land scarred by the Great Mushroom War, where ruins and dangers linger behind every hill, Jake's joy becomes a form of quiet defiance. His laughter and his naps are more than laziness. They are acts of resistance against despair. In every bacon pancake, in every goofy prank, Jake is choosing life, choosing to find sweetness in a world that could so easily be consumed by darkness. This contrast also highlights the deeper role of the trickster archetype. Tricksters across mythology often thrive in broken or chaotic worlds, precisely because they can bend, twist, and laugh their way through turmoil. Jake's very existence in Ooh is a testament to this role. He doesn't ignore the darkness, but he refuses to let it define him. And in doing so, he shows Finn and us that the most powerful response to chaos might not be strength or fury, but joy and adaptability. Even Jake's shape-shifting powers mirror this philosophy. They are fluid, ever-changing, never locked into one rigid form. A sword can only strike one way, but Jake can twist into anything. A shield, a bridge, a giant, or something purely silly. His magic is not about destruction, but about possibility. It's as if his very body is telling us that survival in Ooh is not about hardness, but about softness, the ability to bend without breaking. As we rest with these thoughts, it becomes clear that Jake's carefree early days were not wasted time, nor were they merely silly antics. They were the gentle roots of something deeper. Each nap, each prank, each laugh shared with Finn was part of a quiet education. Finn learned that being a hero wasn't only about fighting. Sometimes it was about resting, about finding joy, about trusting your instincts when the world became too complicated. And Jake, for his part, was learning too. Though he wore the mask of the trickster, he was slowly discovering his own role in shaping the destiny of Ooh. In these carefree years, he may not have seemed like the central hero, but without him, the story would unravel. He was the grounding force, the flexible thread weaving humor and hope into a land that needed it desperately. When we drift further along Jake's journey, we see a shift in the rhythm of his life. The carefree trickster, the playful adventurer, begins to encounter new emotions and deeper bonds that change how he sees the world. Love, companionship, and responsibility start to take root in his story, shaping him into something more than just Finn's partner in adventure. These are the threads that reveal Jake's heart, not just his humor, and they guide him toward growth that is both tender and profound. At the center of this transformation is Lady Rainicorn. From the moment she glides into Jake's life, their connection feels different from the chaos and whimsy of Ooh. She is gentle, melodic, and mysterious, speaking in a language that not everyone can understand, yet perfectly understood by Jake. Their bond doesn't need translation. It's rooted in something quieter, deeper, almost musical. Together they share a harmony that balances Jake's playful energy with her calm, ethereal presence. Their relationship grows not in grand displays or dramatic conflicts, but in moments of quiet intimacy. They float together across the skies. They share meals. They laugh in their own private rhythm. Lady Rainicorn doesn't demand Jake to be anything other than himself, and Jake, in turn, treats her with a devotion that reveals his softer side. This companionship marks the beginning of Jake's evolution from a trickster wandering through life to a partner who understands the weight of love. But love in the world of Ooh is never simple. Lady Rainicorn comes from her own lineage with ties to the strange and magical history of the Rainicorns. She and Jake face differences in culture, in background, in the very fabric of how they see the world. Yet instead of these differences dividing them, they become bridges. Jake doesn't shy away from her uniqueness. He embraces it. His openness, his ability to laugh with the unknown, allows their love to flourish where others might falter. And from this bond, responsibility begins to blossom. When Jake becomes a father, his story shifts in ways we could never have imagined during his early trickster days. Suddenly, the playful shapeshifter who once lived without a care, has little lives depending on it. His 5 pups, each as unique and magical as their parents, become the mirror through which Jake sees himself anew. In the presence of his children, Jake begins to wrestle with questions he never had to ask before. How do you guide young souls in a world as strange and perilous as Ooh? How do you pass on wisdom, not just through jokes and naps, but through patience and care? For Jake, the answer comes not through perfection, but through presence. He may not have all the answers, but he shows up. He plays with his pups, supports their individuality, and shows them that love can be as stretchy as his own body, always able to expand and make room. What's striking is how naturally Jake grows into this role. While Finn represents youthful adventure and the desire to discover oneself, Jake begins to represent stability, the grounding comfort of home and family. Even when he joins Finn on quests, the thought of his family lingers, adding a new layer of responsibility to his decisions. He can't simply throw himself into danger without thought, because now he has little one waiting for him to come back. This balance between adventure and responsibility creates some of the Jake's most endearing moments. He doesn't abandon his trickster spirit. He still jokes, naps, and eats his fill. But beneath that, we see the deepening roots of a father and a partner. We see him trying, sometimes stumbling, but always choosing to grow. And in this choice, Jake reveals one of his greatest strengths, the ability to stretch not just his body, but his heart. Love and responsibility also illuminate another truth about Jake, his loyalty. Whether it's to Lady Rainicorn, to his pups, or to Finn, Jake proves that beneath his relaxed demeanor lies an unwavering devotion. He might tease, he might seem lazy, but when it matters most, Jake is steadfast. His loyalty is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, constant, like the steady warmth of a fire that never goes out. As we reflect on these moments, it becomes clear that Jake's growth is not just about becoming stronger in battle or wiser in words. It is about learning to carry others with him, to hold space for love, to nurture bonds, to take responsibility for more than himself. These are the lessons that turn him from a carefree wanderer into a guardian, from a playful trickster into a pillar of those he loved. As Jake settles into this new chapter of his life, we begin to see how his love for Lady Rainicorn and his devotion to their pups shaped not only his choices, but also his identity. Once he was defined by the joy of adventure, by his ability to bend and twist his body in impossible ways. But now his stretchiness feels symbolic of something much more important. His ability to expand his life, to make room for the people he loves, and to hold them close, no matter how chaotic the world around them becomes. The Rainicorn pups, each brimming with their own personalities, pull Jake into experiences he never could have imagined. They are a reminder that love is not static. It grows, it multiplies, and it challenges. Suddenly, Jake is not just navigating his own path. He is helping guide little beings who carry both his essence and Lady Rainicorn's magic. Each pup represents a possibility, a future Jake has never considered before. And while he doesn't always know the right answer, he embodies the kind of father who learns by doing, who teaches not by rigid rules, but by laughter, warmth, and example. These family moments give us a softer view of Jake. He isn't the type of parent who lectures or demands. Instead, he is present, playful, and patient. When his pups make mistakes, he doesn't scold them harshly. He chuckles, guides them gently, and encourages them to keep trying. His parenting style mirrors his personality, laid back but full of heart, never trying to mold his children into something they're not, but instead celebrating who they already are. And through this, Jake grows. Responsibility doesn't crush him or weigh him down. Instead, it adds depth to his character. He begins to see that being responsible doesn't mean giving up on joy. It means protecting it, nurturing it, and ensuring that others can feel it too. This balance becomes one of the most beautiful aspects of his journey. The realization that adventure and responsibility are not opposites, but companions that can coexist. Lady Rainicorn, too, plays a vital role in this growth. Their relationship shows us what partnership can look like in a world full of chaos. They are not perfect. They have disagreement. They come from very different backgrounds, but they find ways to meet in the middle. Their love is a reminder that true companionship is not about erasing differences, but about embracing, weaving them into a shared rhythm that is stronger than what either could have built alone. For Jake, this bond means learning to prioritize someone else's needs, to listen deeply, and to compromise when necessary. These may sound like simple lessons, but for someone who once floated through life with little concern for consequences, they represent a profound transformation. Jake's love for Lady Rainicorn isn't about fleeting passion. It is about steady devotion, about building a home together, about choosing to stay side by side, even when the road is winding. And perhaps the most touching part of Jake's growth during this time is the way he balances his role. He is still Finn's brother-in-arms, still the goofy adventurer who can make any situation lighter. But he is also a partner, a father, and a source of stability in a world that often feels unstable. Watching him navigate these roles is like watching someone stretch into new shape, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. In many ways, Jake represents the idea that love and responsibility don't limit us, they expand us. His story shows that when we allow ourselves to open our hearts, to commit to others, we discover strengths we didn't know we had. We learn patience, loyalty, and the joy of seeing others grow. Jake's life with Lady Rainicorn and their pups is a testament to this truth, that love is one of the greatest adventures of all, one that doesn't end when the quest is over, but continues quietly in the everyday moments of companionship and care. As we drift further into Jake's journey, it becomes clear that these connections are not side stories. They are the heart of who he becomes. Without love, without family, Jake might have remained a trickster, forever dancing from one adventure to the next. But with them, he finds purpose, grounding, and a kind of growth that stretches far beyond even his magical abilities. As Jake's life unfolds with Lady Rainicorn and their pups, we begin to notice subtle changes in how he approaches the world. Where once he approached danger with a playful shrug, now he weighs the consequences with care, quietly measuring how his choices ripple outward. Adventure is still part of his life, but it is no longer the sole focus. Love and family now act as a quiet compass, guiding him through the unexpected and the unknown. One of the most tender aspects of Jake's growth is how he begins to balance freedom and responsibility. His shape-shifting powers, which once served primarily as tools for fun and mischief, now become instruments of care. He stretches to protect, to shield, and to nurture. He inflates, expands, and molds his body not only for adventure, but for safety, for comfort, and for the joy of those he loves. Each playful act now carries a layer of meaning, a dual purpose that reflects the depth of his evolving heart. Jake's companionship with Finn also takes on new dimensions during this period. He is no longer merely the carefree sidekick. He becomes a mentor in his own quiet way. Finn, full of youthful idealism and sometimes recklessness, finds in Jake not only a friend, but a model of emotional resilience. Through Jake's calm presence, Finn learns lessons that go beyond sword fighting or questing. He learns the value of patience, of seeing the bigger picture, and of carrying those you care about through both danger and ordinary life. And yet, Jake never loses his sense of humor or his playful outlook. In fact, his ability to laugh remains a vital part of how he teaches these lessons. Humor becomes a bridge between responsibility and joy. He shows that taking care of others does not mean abandoning yourself or the lightness of life. Love in Jake's world is not burdensome. It is expansive. It stretches, like his own body, to make room for all the people who matter. Through these adventures in love and companionship, we also witness Jake grappling with the complexities of commitment. There are moments of doubt, of miscommunication, and of tension between his carefree instincts and the obligations that come with family. But each challenge teaches him something profound, that love is an active, evolving choice, not a static state. That companionship requires empathy, understanding, and sometimes quiet sacrifice. Even in the midst of magical chaos and the unpredictable dangers of Jake finds time to nurture these relationships. He plays with his pups, teaches them through example, and shares quiet moments with Lady Rainicorn that carry a depth of emotion beyond words. These acts may seem small in the grand tapestry of adventure, but they are monumental in shaping Jake's heart. Each gentle word, each shared laugh, each careful gesture reinforces the kind of loyalty and love that defines him as more than just a hero. It defines him as a family anchor. This segment of Jake's life also highlights the intertwining of love and identity. He is not merely Jake the adventurer or Jake the trickster. He is Jake the partner, Jake the father, Jake the steady force amidst chaos. These roles are not constraints. They are expansions of who he is. Each relationship adds a new layer to his being, making him more complex, more grounded, and more capable of understanding the nuances of the world around him. We see this beautifully reflected in his approach to conflict and challenge. Whereas before he might have deflected danger with jokes or quick thinking alone, now he considers the safety and well-being of those he loves. His shape-shifting powers are no longer just whimsical tools. They are extensions of his heart, instruments of protection, comfort, and care. In this way, Jake becomes not just physically adaptable, but emotionally and morally flexible as well. And yet the magic of Jake's story is that he does all this without losing the joy that defines him. Love and responsibility do not weigh him down. They enhance his capacity for laughter, for warmth, and for connection. He shows us that to care deeply is not to sacrifice freedom, but to expand it. To love fully is not to limit oneself, but to stretch one's life into something richer and more profound. As night deepens and we imagine Jake watching over his family, the lessons of this chapter resonate softly. He embodies a balance between playful spontaneity and committed care, between humor and wisdom, between freedom and devotion. The trickster, who once roamed without a thought, now walks hand in paw with those he loves, proving that the greatest adventures are not always battles or quests. They are the quiet moments of connection, the stretches of heart that reach toward another soul. As Jake continues to navigate the responsibilities of love and family, we begin to notice how his growth subtly transforms his interaction with the wider world. He approaches friends and strangers alike with a gentleness that was not always present in his earlier trickster days. Adventure and chaos still exist, but they are framed within the context of care. He is no longer simply the playful sidekick. He has become a steady presence, a source of comfort in a land that often teeters between wonder and danger. One of the most beautiful aspects of this evolution is how Jake models empathy. In small, quiet moments, we see him noticing the needs of others, sometimes before they are even spoken. A worried villager, a tired friend, or a nervous child. Jake senses their unease and responds not with judgment or impatience, but with warmth, humor, support. His ability to tune into the emotions of those around him reflects a maturity born from love and responsibility. It is in these subtle acts that Jake's true heroism shines, more so than in battles or quests. And yet Jake is not without his struggles. The balance between freedom and responsibility is delicate, and he sometimes falters. There are moments when he wishes he could retreat into his carefree life, stretching and laughing without care, without obligations. But love has a way of calling him back. It reminds him that the joy of life is deeply connected to the well-being of others, and that the magic of companionship lies not only in shared adventure, but also in shared trust and commitment. Jake's parenting reveals another layer of his character. Each of his pups carries a piece of him, a piece of Lady Rainicorn, and a world of possibilities that he must nurture. He learns to guide without controlling, to teach without imposing, and to love without condition. This journey is not easy. It challenges his patience, his instincts, and sometimes even his playful nature. But it is precisely in these challenges that Jake grows, discovering that responsibility, when embraced with heart and humor, becomes a source of joy rather than a burden. Love, as Jake experiences it, is not static. It evolves, deepens, and sometimes requires sacrifice. He learns to put the needs of others before his own desires, not out of obligation, but out of understanding. He discovers that true companionship requires listening as much as speaking, giving as much as receiving, and sometimes stepping aside so that those he loves can shine. These lessons are woven quietly into his daily life, in moments that might seem ordinary: a shared breakfast, a playful chase through the clouds, a whispered word of encouragement. Through this lens, Jake's relationships with Finn, Lady Rainicorn, and his pups become a tapestry of growth. Each thread represents a different aspect of love: loyalty, trust, patience, laughter, and care. Together they form a pattern that is both complex and harmonious, reflecting the true beauty of Jake's evolution. He is not merely a character in a story. He is a living example of how love and responsibility can expand the heart, creating a space where joy and duty coexist. Even in the midst of danger or the unpredictable chaos of Jake carries this balance within him. He can still stretch into improbable shapes, play tricks on foes, and navigate adventures with humor and ingenuity. But beneath the laughter is a quiet anchor, a commitment to those he loves, a steady presence that holds the world together in ways that are subtle but profound. As we imagine Jake watching over his family at night, stretching lazily beneath the stars while his pups sleep and Lady Rainicorn drifts beside him, we sense the depth of his growth. He has become more than a companion. He is a teacher, a protector, a source of stability in a land where nothing is guaranteed. His playful nature remains, but it is now intertwined with wisdom, patience, and a deep understanding of the importance of love. As we continue to drift through the life and growth of Jake the dog, we move now into a quieter, deeper layer of his story. Beyond the playful adventures, the trickster antics, and the joys of family, there exists a hidden depth within Jake, a well of wisdom and mysticism that is often overlooked by those who see only his carefree side. Tonight we gently explore these hidden facets, tracing the moments where Jake's calm insight and mystical understanding emerge like soft starlight in the night sky. From early on, Jake demonstrates an almost instinctive connection to the world around him. He seems to understand things that go unnoticed by others, the subtle flows of magic in the rhythms of the land, and the unspoken currents of emotion in those he loves. While Finn often relies on courage, intuition, and action, Jake's wisdom is quiet, internalized, and reflective. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It hums softly beneath his laughter, guiding him and those around him without overt fanfare. Consider the way Jake perceives time. In episodes where reality bends and the cosmos twists, he often navigates situations with an uncanny sense of timing. He knows when to act, when to wait, and when to let events unfold naturally. This patience is more than mere laziness. It is an understanding of the ebb and flow of life itself. Jake seems to sense the universe's rhythm, moving in harmony with it, rather than forcing outcome. There is a subtle lesson here. Wisdom often speaks in silence, and understanding requires listening rather than rushing. Jake's mystical side also appears in his occasional cryptic statements and advice. To an outsider, his words may seem nonsensical or whimsical, but there is often a profound truth hidden beneath the humor. He might offer Finn a comment about stretching time or embracing the shapes of your heart, and while Finn may not fully comprehend it in the moment, the guidance resonates later, revealing Jake's quiet insight. It is as if Jake experiences the world on a different level, seeing patterns and possibilities that others overlook. This connection to the mystical is intertwined with his shape-shifting ability. More than a practical tool for adventure, his elasticity becomes a metaphor for perspective and adaptability. He is able to see and inhabit many forms, to expand or contract as the moment requires. It is a physical manifestation of flexibility, patience, and open-mindedness. When Jake changes shape, he is not only altering his body, but also adjusting his perception, entering the world through new angles and experiences. This fluidity is deeply symbolic of his growing understanding of life, love, and existence itself. Jake's experiences with magic and the mystical elements of further deepen his wisdom. From encounters with cosmic entities to explorations of ancient relics, he often reacts with calm curiosity rather than fear or aggression. He approaches mysteries with a sense of respect, observing and engaging without rushing to dominate or control. This humility sets him apart from many of Ah's heroes and villains, showing that true strength often lies in restraint, awareness, and reverence for the unknown. Even Jake's dreams and visions hint at a spiritual depth. He experiences moments of insight that transcend ordinary perception, glimpses of alternate realities, and subtle connections across time and space. These moments suggest that Jake is not merely a playful adventurer or devoted family figure. He is also a conduit for a deeper understanding of the universe. His awareness of hidden truths often guides Finn and others in subtle ways, allowing them to navigate dangers or make choices that align with the greater cosmic current. Oh, what makes Jake's wisdom especially compelling is that it is never self-aggrandizing. He does not flaunt knowledge, nor does he use it to assert dominance. Instead, his insight is gentle, often expressed through humor, storytelling, or simple actions that reveal a truth quietly. His role as a mentor and guide emerges naturally, not from a desire to teach, but from the organic way he experiences and interacts with the world. Jake also possesses an innate understanding of the balance between light and darkness. While he delights in fun and play, he is not naive. He has witnessed the shadowy remnants of Oo's past, the dangers of magic gone awry, and the fragile nature of life in a post-apocalyptic land. And yet he does not despair. Instead, he moves through this reality with a measured awareness, teaching by example that joy and wisdom are not mutually exclusive. Life can be both magical and perilous, and the key is to navigate with openness, humor, and care. His mystical side is sometimes reflected in his interactions with cosmic or magical beings. Encounters with entities like the cosmic owl, the nightosphere's denizen, or ancient spirits reveal a subtle recognition in Jake. He is not simply a participant in these stories. He is an observer who understands the deeper implications, reading between the layers of existence. While Finn often reacts emotionally or impulsively, Jake responds with calm insight, offering guidance that blends practical action with spiritual intuition. As we explore Jake's mystical side further, it becomes clear that his wisdom is not limited to understanding others. It also extends to himself. He possesses an almost meditative awareness of his own abilities, his limits, and the potentials that lie within him. While his shape-shifting powers might seem merely whimsical or comical, Jake uses them with intuition and precision, often in ways that reveal a deeper comprehension of reality. He knows when to expand into giant forms to protect, when to stretch small, subtle to observe, and even when to merge into abstract shapes that defy conventional logic. This awareness is a form of self-knowledge, a gentle mastery of body, mind, and soul that few other inhabitants of Oo display. Jake's interactions with time and alternate realities further showcase his quiet mysticism. Episodes where he glimpses future possibilities or experiences alternative versions of events highlight an understanding that life is not strictly linear. He grasps, often instinctively, that every action is connected to countless outcomes and that choices carry weight beyond the immediate moment. Unlike Finn, who is still learning to navigate such complexity, Jake integrates this awareness seamlessly into his life, remaining calm and adaptable, even when events spiral into chaos. Another element of Jake's mysticism is his attunement to emotion and energy. He reads the moods of others, senses tension or danger, and responds with empathy rather than force. This ability is subtle, like a breeze brushing across the surface of a pond, yet it has profound effects. He can calm a frightened creature, mediate between conflicting parties, or provide the precise reassurance needed to prevent disaster. Jake's mystical perception is not about grand displays of magic. It is woven into the quiet fabric of his being, a soft but steady current that shapes outcomes in ways others may not even notice. Jake also demonstrates a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. He seems to sense patterns that link people, places, and events across Oo. His playful perspective does not ignore the world's complexity. Instead, it allows him to move through it with fluidity and grace. Like the water in a river bending around stone, Jake adjusts to obstacles without losing momentum, harmonizing with the natural rhythms of the universe. This harmony is a hallmark of his hidden wisdom, a calm acceptance that life is intricate and ever-shifting, and that resilience comes from flexibility rather than rigidity. His approach to magic often reflects this insight. While some characters wield spells or artifacts with intent to control or dominate, Jake treats magical forces with respect and curiosity. He experiments, observes, and adapts, but never seeks to impose his will upon them recklessly. In doing so, he demonstrates a form of humility that is rare in a land brimming with extraordinary powers. Jake's relationship with magic is one of balance, a recognition that power is a tool, a language, and a responsibility, rather than a means to assert supremacy. We also notice that Jake's mystical tendencies manifest in his dreams and visions. Occasionally, he experiences moments of insight that seem to transcend ordinary perception. These glimpses of possible futures or hidden truths are never forced or overly dramatic. They appear naturally, almost as if the universe whispers its secrets to him. These quiet experiences deepen his understanding, allowing him to navigate challenges with intuition and calm foresight. Even his humor carries traces of hidden wisdom. A joke, a pun, or a playful trick often conceals layers of meaning. Jake uses laughter to diffuse tension, reveal truths gently, and guide others toward realizations without confrontation. In this way, his mystical insight is both functional and poetic, embedded in everyday actions rather than displayed in grandiose gesture. Through all of this, we see that Jake's wisdom and mysticism are inseparable from the core of his being. They are not skills he acquired or lessons he learns consciously. They are woven into the essence of who he is. His ability to perceive, adapt, and harmonize with the world arises naturally from the combination of experience, empathy, and the innate magic that courses through him. And in the quiet moments, when the sun sets over Ooh and Jake stretches lazily beside Finn or his family, we can almost feel the subtle hum of this wisdom. It is not something shouted or displayed. It is soft, persistent, and deeply grounding. A reminder that true insight often flows quietly beneath the surface, shaping the world in ways both gentle and profound. As we drift further into Jake's hidden depths, we notice that his wisdom often manifests in how he perceives the unseen threads of Ooh. The land itself is full of mystery, remnants of a past civilization, strange magical forces, and echoes of the Great Mushroom War. While many characters react to these phenomena with fear or aggression, Jake moves through them with quiet understanding. He senses their presence, acknowledges their weight, and adapts without resistance. In doing so, he demonstrates an attunement not just to the people around him, but to the very fabric of the world itself. This connection to the unseen allows Jake to act as a bridge between the ordinary and the extraordinary. He interacts comfortably with cosmic entities, spirits, and magical creatures that might intimidate others. The cosmic owl, for instance, recognizes Jake not as a threat, but as a being capable of understanding glimpses of fate and prophecy. When Jake encounters forces beyond comprehension, he does not panic or rush. He observes, listens, and responds with a calm that is both reassuring and wise. In his presence, even the chaotic energies of Ooh seem to flow more harmonious. Jake's mystical awareness also extends to the cycles of life, growth, and transformation. He intuitively understands that everything in Ooh, its people, its creatures, and its landscapes, is part of a larger, interconnected whole. This perspective shapes his choices in subtle ways. When he helps a friend or protects his family, it is not just an isolated act. It is the recognition that his actions ripple outward, touching threads that he may never see. In this way, Jake embodies a kind of quiet stewardship, guiding the world with empathy, insight, and a sense of cosmic balance. Another facet of Jake's hidden depth is his ability to perceive the inner lives of others. He sees not just actions, but intentions, fears, and desires. He senses when Finn is unsure of himself, when Lady Rainicorn seeks reassurance, or when a stranger carries burdens they cannot speak aloud. Jake's responses are never heavy-handed. Instead, he offers guidance, comfort, or humor in a way that allows others to discover their own strength. This subtle mentorship is a hallmark of his wisdom. He does not dictate the path. He illuminates it gently, like a lantern casting soft light in a dark forest. Jake's mystical qualities are also reflected in his dreams and visions. Occasionally, he glimpses the flow of time or perceives threads of possibility that extend far beyond the immediate moment. These experiences are never rigid or prescriptive. They are suggestions, echoes, and insights that he integrates into his decisions with ease. This relationship with foresight gives him an almost meditative calm, allowing him to navigate challenges with patience and perspective. He trusts the flow of life, knowing that even uncertainty carries meaning if approached with openness and care. In addition to his spiritual awareness, Jake's wisdom is evident in his adaptability. His shape-shifting is more than a tool for fun. It is a reflection of his understanding that life is not fixed. Challenges, relationships, and experiences are fluid, and Jake mirrors that fluidity. He stretches, bends, and morphs, not only physically, but emotionally, meeting the needs of each moment with grace. In this, his magical abilities and mystical insight are inseparable, reinforcing the idea that true power is a harmony of heart, mind, and spirit. We also notice that Jake's humor and playfulness often contain hidden lessons. A joke, a prank, or a whimsical trick might seem trivial, but it frequently conveys guidance, reveals hidden truths, or diffuses tension in ways that words alone cannot. His laughter becomes a tool of insight, a way to illuminate understanding without force or argument. In this gentle way, Jake teaches that wisdom can be soft, indirect, and even joyful. It does not always need to announce itself loudly to be effective. Perhaps most remarkably, Jake's mystical awareness does not isolate him from connection. Instead, it deepens it. His understanding of unseen forces allows him to empathize more fully with those around him, to anticipate their needs, and to respond in ways that nurture both trust and love. He becomes a living reminder that true wisdom is not a solitary pursuit. It is woven into the fabric of relationships, guiding and uplifting those we care about. As night falls over we can imagine Jake lying beneath the stars, his body stretched lazily across a soft hill, eyes half closed yet alert to the subtle currents of the universe. He listens to the whispers of the wind, senses the pulse of magic in the earth, and feels the quiet heartbeat of the world around him. In these moments, the depth of his mysticism becomes clear. It is not loud or dramatic. It is soft, enduring, and profoundly present. Jake's hidden depths remind us that beneath every laugh, every prank, and every playful stretch lies a being attuned to the world in ways both magical and wise. He teaches that insight can be quiet, guidance gentle, and understanding subtle, and that the most profound forms of power often manifest in patience, presence, and love. As Jake rests beneath the quiet skies of we begin to see how his wisdom and mysticism inform the very way he moves through life. His perception of the world is layered, like a calm lake reflecting both the stars above and the unseen currents below. He senses the past, he intuitively navigates the present, and he remains quietly aware of the threads of the future, though he rarely seeks to control them. Instead, he flows with them, trusting the rhythms of life while gently guiding those he loves along the path. In his interactions with Finn, this mystical depth often surfaces in subtle but profound ways. Jake doesn't always offer explicit advice. Instead, he provides a perspective, a gentle nudge, or a playful observation that allows Finn to see situations in a new light. These moments of guidance are rarely dramatic, yet they carry tremendous weight. Finn, eager, impulsive, and sometimes impatient, learns that wisdom is not always loud or forceful. It can be quiet, reflective, and often hidden within humor, play, and the soft assurance of a companion who knows the tides of the universe. Jake's mystical sensibilities also shape how he approaches danger. While others might charge headlong into threats or despair in the face of uncertainty, Jake evaluates situations with a balance of instinct and insight. He senses when patience is required, when a strategic pause can prevent disaster, and when intuition must guide action. This approach is not about inaction. It is about understanding the interconnectedness of choices and consequences. In a land as unpredictable as such calm awareness is a rare gift. Even in moments of profound magic, Jake remains grounded. Encounters with cosmic forces, alternate realities, and ancient mystical entities do not overwhelm him. He observes, adapts, and integrates the lessons of these experiences into his being. Through this, Jake demonstrates a humility that is as rare as it is powerful. True mysticism, he seems to say, is not about dominance or control. It is about harmony, balance, and a deep awareness of one's place in the ever-shifting currents of existence. Jake's ability to see patterns where others see chaos is also remarkable. He perceives connections between people, events, and energies that are invisible to most. This perception allows him to act as a mediator, a guide, and a stabilizing force. Whether he is negotiating between friends, calming a distressed creature, or navigating the complexities of magic and time, Jake's subtle insight ensures that his actions are both effective and compassionate. His shape-shifting powers serve as an extension of this mystical awareness. By literally changing his form to meet the needs of the moment, Jake demonstrates a fluidity of mind as well as body. He can stretch, compress, or expand, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually, molding his responses to the situation at hand. This adaptability is a form of quiet mastery, a reminder that true wisdom often manifests as flexibility, presence, and attunement to the world's rhythms rather than force or rigidity. Even Jake's humor is infused with this mystical quality. A seemingly silly joke may reveal insight, offer clarity, or illuminate hidden truths. Play for him is not mere distraction. It is a way to engage with life's mystery, to teach without teaching, to guide without demanding, and to connect without judgment. Laughter, in Jake's hands, becomes a subtle form of wisdom, a bridge between the ordinary and the profound. As the night deepens over we can imagine Jake's heart beating in quiet alignment with the magic of the land. He stretches beneath the stars, listens to the whispers of the wind, and feels the gentle pulse of existence itself. His laughter, calm demeanor, and insightful gaze create a soft harmony that touches everyone he encounters. Even when he appears lazy or whimsical, Jake is fully awake to the currents of life, moving in step with the unseen forces that shape the world. Jake's hidden depths remind us that wisdom and mysticism do not always arrive with grand proclamations. Often they live quietly within those who observe, listen, and respond with patience and heart. His journey teaches that insight is found in calm reflection. The true power lies in empathy and understanding, and that the most profound connections emerge when one moves with the world rather than against it. By the end of this segment, we see Jake not just as the playful, lovable adventurer, but as a being of quiet insight and mystical depth. His wisdom is subtle, profound, and enduring. It is woven into his actions, his words, his laughter, and his very being. Jake the dog, in all his magical, flexible, and loving glory, becomes a guide not only to Finn and his friends, but to us as well, a gentle teacher of patience, presence, and the hidden currents that flow beneath the surface of life. In the quiet of the night, as we imagine Jake stretching beneath the canopy of stars, we can sense the serenity, the understanding, and the magic that define his hidden depths. He embodies the idea that true wisdom is gentle, that guidance can be playful, and that even in a chaotic, post-apocalyptic world, harmony and insight are attainable for those willing to see, to listen, and to stretch beyond the obvious. We drift into a chapter of Jake's life that explores the roots of his incredible abilities and the mysteries woven into his very bloodline. As we follow him through the tapestry of his past and the echoes of his ancestry, we begin to understand that Jake is not merely a shapeshifter by chance. He is the heir to a legacy that stretches far beyond what we see on the surface. Jake's powers, so fluid and extraordinary, are not just a quirk of nature. They are a reflection of his lineage, a magical inheritance that carries whispers of long-forgotten times, strange worlds, and the subtle currents of mystical life that have flowed through U for centuries. His father, Joshua, and his mother, Margaret, provided him with love and guidance. But it is the magical essence embedded in his very being that shapes his ability to stretch, transform, and navigate the complexities of his world. In the quiet moments when Jake stretches high into the sky or molds himself into shapes that defy reason, one can almost sense the echoes of his ancestors moving through him. There is a rhythm in his transformations, a pulse that seems older than the land itself. It is as though he carries within him fragments of countless lives, fragments of experiences and wisdom that predate even the Great Mushroom War. Each stretch, each shapeshift, becomes a silent testament to the legacy of those who came before, a whisper of a lineage imbued with magic, resilience, and a deep connection to the very fabric of reality. Jake's siblings, too, reflect elements of this mysterious heritage. Though their lives diverge and their paths are sometimes separate, there is a common thread, an innate understanding of transformation and flexibility, both physically and emotionally. They embody different aspects of the same magical inheritance, each echoing the same legacy in unique ways. Observing these familial connections, we see that Jake is part of a broader continuum, a living bridge between the past and the present, between those who walked long before and those who will continue to shape its future. The nature of Jake's shape-shifting abilities also carries a philosophical weight. To transform is to embrace impermanence, to understand that identity is not fixed, and that life itself is a constant process of adaptation. Jake embodies this truth in ways both literal and symbolic. His magical elasticity allows him to navigate both physical and emotional landscapes with fluidity. It teaches those around him, and even ourselves as observers, that growth requires flexibility, that change is natural, and that embracing our own ability to transform is part of living fully in a world that is never static. Even within his family life, this legacy manifests subtly. His pups inherit glimpses of his magical essence, each stretching toward their own potential in small, wondrous ways. Jake guides them gently, not merely through instructions or lessons, but through example, showing that the true inheritance is not only the magic that resides within their bodies, but the understanding of how to use it with care, wisdom, and heart. It is a living, breathing lineage of both power and responsibility. Jake's connection to his ancestry also invites speculation about the larger mystical forces that shaped U. What kind of worlds did his predecessors inhabit? What challenges did they face? What truths about magic, shape, and identity were passed down to him? Sometimes without words, sometimes encoded in the very fibers of his being. These questions linger quietly in the background, mysteries that add a profound depth to Jake's story. They remind us that each individual is a product of countless lives before them, and that the past often moves silently through the present, shaping choices, actions, and character. The concept of legacy is further deepened by Jake's interaction with other shapeshifters and magical beings across U. Through these encounters, we see variations of his own ability, hints of shared origins, and reflections of what it means to wield transformation as both a gift and a responsibility. Each meeting reinforces the idea that Jake is part of a continuum, a lineage that is magical, multifaceted, and profoundly interconnected. Jake's understanding of this inheritance is intuitive rather than academic. He does not dwell on genealogical charts or the formal history of shapeshifters. Instead, he senses it in the way the world responds to it, in the flow of magic that bends with his movements, and in the quiet confidence with which he approaches challenges. There is a subtle humility in this awareness. He knows he carries a legacy, yet he does not let it define him entirely. Instead, he honors it by living fully, using his gifts with care, and expanding the possibilities of what it means to be a shapeshifter in U. Even as he stretches through adventures with Finn, faces cosmic beings, and embraces his family, Jake's bloodline whispers through his every action. It is present in the way he bends to protect, molds to comfort, and expands to encompass love. This mystical inheritance shapes not only what he can do, but how he perceives the world, how he interprets danger, joy, connection, and the delicate interplay of cause and effect. As we explore Jake's magical heritage further, it becomes clear that his shape-shifting abilities are more than mere physical tricks. They are a language through which he communicates with the world, a reflection of the deep currents of magic that flow through UU. Each transformation, each stretch, each subtle shift in form is not just a tool for adventure. It is an expression of identity, connection, and inheritance. Through these movements, Jake embodies the wisdom, resilience, and creativity of generations that came before him, carrying their essence forward into the present. Jake's understanding of his own powers is instinctive, yet it carries an almost spiritual quality. He knows the limits of his body and mind, yet he also recognizes that these limits are often fluid. In stretching, compressing, or morphing, he demonstrates a mastery over change itself, a lesson that goes beyond magic. It is a quiet meditation on adaptability, patience, and the embrace of impermanence. In this, Jake's lineage is not only magical, it is philosophical, teaching that true strength comes from harmonizing with life rather than resisting. The legacy of his bloodline also carries echoes of responsibility. Magical gifts, no matter how wondrous, are rarely neutral. They have consequences, and their use requires mindfulness. Jake embodies this principle effortlessly, whether protecting Finn from danger, guiding his family, or navigating the mystical complexities of UU. He wields his abilities with an awareness that extends beyond immediate action. His choices reflect an understanding that power is entwined with the consequence, and that the gifts inherited from his ancestors are not to be taken lightly. We also see Jake's bloodline reflected in his creativity. His shape-shifting allows him to approach problems from perspectives that others cannot imagine. He morphs to reach places, to protect, and to create possibilities where none seem to exist. This inventive application of inherited abilities mirrors the ingenuity of his forebears, suggesting a lineage not only of magical talent, but also of imaginative problem-solving. In every stretch and transformation, there is a quiet echo of ancestral brilliance, a reminder that Jake is both a product of history and a creator of new paths. Jake's relationship with his family further illuminates the legacy of the shapeshifter. He passes on not only his abilities, but also the philosophy embedded in flexibility, empathy, and the understanding that identity is layered and adaptable. His pups inherit glimpses of his magic, and through his gentle guidance, they learn the interplay between freedom and responsibility. The lessons of his bloodline are transmitted not only through instruction, but through example, demonstrating that living with magic requires both playfulness and mindfulness. An interesting aspect of Jake's heritage is the way it intersects with the broader mystical landscape of UU. The history of shapeshifters is entwined with the post-apocalyptic remnants of the Mushroom War, the scattered magic of ancient civilization, and the subtle threads of cosmic influence. Jake moves through this world with an intuitive awareness, responding to energies and situations that would bewilder most. His ancestry is not merely a personal lineage. It is a link to the magical and mystical fabric of the entire land, connecting past, present, and future in ways that ripple through his adventures and relationships. We also see reflections of this legacy in Jake's moral and emotional growth. Shapeshifting is more than a physical skill. It is a metaphor for adaptability in life, for the ability to respond with empathy, humor, and patience. Jake's transformations often mirror emotional and relational truths. When he stretches to comfort a loved one, expands to protect, or morphs to navigate complex situations, he embodies the principle that true power is intertwined with compassion. In this, the mystical legacy of his bloodline becomes inseparable from his character growth, shaping not only what he can do, but who he is. Even his moments of rest and play carry traces of ancestry. As he lounges, stretches, or drifts into dreamlike adventures, one senses the subtle hum of generations within him. The calm confidence, the intuitive understanding of life's rhythms, and the gentle patience all hint at a lineage that has learned to navigate both chaos and serenity. His heritage flows through him silently, shaping not only his action, but the very way he perceives and interacts with the world. Jake's legacy reminds us that inheritance is not simply about what is passed down, but how it is integrated and expressed. His shape-shifting powers, playful creativity, and quiet wisdom are all part of a continuum that connects him to those who came before and those who will follow. Each choice, each stretch, each gentle act of guidance becomes a continuation of this lineage, a living thread in the intricate tapestry of Ooh's magical history. As we draw deeper into the legacy of Jake's lineage, it becomes apparent that his gifts are not merely tools for adventure. They are vessels carrying stories, lessons, and memories from generations past. Every stretch, every transformation, every playful alteration of his form is imbued with echoes of his ancestors. In the quiet of Ooh's night, one might imagine these ancestral whispers mingling the soft rustle of leaves, gently reminding Jake of the interconnectedness of life, magic, and love. Jake's understanding of his heritage is intuitive rather than studied. He does not ponder genealogies or magical tomes. Instead, he senses the continuity of life in his every action. When he stretches to protect, molds himself to comfort, or transforms to navigate danger, he is both honoring and expanding the legacy passed down to him. This subtle, lived wisdom is what sets him apart. His ancestry is not a shadow over his present. It is a guiding current, a quiet force, shaping the way he experiences and interacts with the world. The mystical dimension of Jake's bloodline is equally profound. Shapeshifters in Ooh are rare, and the magic they carry often hints at ancient, forgotten truths. Jake is a living bridge between ordinary existence and these hidden currents. He embodies the convergence of natural talent, magical inheritance, and personal growth. Each time he navigates a cosmic entity, an alternate timeline, or a realm touched by ancient magic, he demonstrates the deep resonance of his lineage. His body and mind respond fluidly to forces that might confound others, revealing a harmony with the mystical threads of the universe that is almost spiritual in nature. Jake's legacy also manifests in his role as a teacher and guide. His pups, while playful and inquisitive, inherit glimpses of his magical essence. Through gentle guidance and example, Jake nurtures their understanding, showing that the true inheritance of a shapeshift is not just power, but the wisdom to wield it thoughtfully. He models patience, empathy, and the balance between freedom and responsibility, demonstrating that legacy is a living, evolving principle rather than a static inheritance. Interactions with other shapeshifters and magical beings further illuminate Jake's heritage. In encounters with entities who share similar abilities, we glimpse variations on the theme of transformation, each shaped by different histories and contexts. Jake recognizes these connections without need for explanation, responding with intuition, respect, and curiosity. These moments underscore that his lineage is not only personal, but interconnected, a thread within a larger mystical tapestry that stretches across time, space, and the magical history of Ooh itself. Even in ordinary, everyday moments, the influence of his bloodline is apparent. The ease with which he navigates challenges, the creative ways he bends his abilities to solve problems, and the calm confidence with which he faces uncertainty all reflect lessons embedded in his very being. These inherited qualities are amplified by experience and reflection, yet they always carry the subtle imprint of those who came before. Jake moves through life like a river shaped by centuries of unseen currents, flowing naturally and purposefully. The metaphor of transformation extends beyond his physical abilities. Jake's growth as a companion, friend, and father mirrors the adaptability and resilience of his lineage. He embodies the idea that legacy is not a fixed inheritance, but a set of principles and abilities that must be applied, refined, and shared. In this we see the true richness of his bloodline. It is both magical and moral, a combination of power, insight, and heart that transcends generation. Even in solitude, Jake's connection to his ancestry is palpable. When he lies beneath the stars, stretches lazily across the soft hills of Ulu, or drifts in contemplative moments, one can imagine the hum of generations within him. The quiet patience, the intuitive understanding, and the gentle presence all speak to a lineage that has learned to navigate both the wonder and the peril of existence. Jake carries this history not as a burden, but as a gift, using it to shape his life and the lives of those he loved. Even as Jake carries forward the legacy of his ancestors, there is a quiet, almost meditative presence in the way he experiences his own life. He moves through each day with a gentle awareness of his abilities and their origin, honoring the lineage without being confined by it. His stretch is not merely physical. It is symbolic of the breadth of his heritage, the expansiveness of the lessons passed down through generations, and the infinite possibilities that arise when magic, experience, and love intertwine. This awareness is reflected in the way Jake interacts with the world around him. Ulu is a land shaped by chaos and remnants of a tumultuous past, yet Jake navigates it with calm confidence. He perceives the subtle energies, senses the emotional undercurrents of those he encounters, and responds with a combination of intuition, empathy, and inherited wisdom. His lineage informs these responses, but his choices are his own, demonstrating that true legacy is both a gift and a responsibility, an inheritance meant to be honored, applied, and expanded upon. Jake's relationship with his family is perhaps the clearest manifestation of his inherited wisdom. With his pups, he models not just the use of magic, but the understanding of its consequences. He demonstrates that true mastery is not about dominance or showmanship, but about awareness, adaptability, and care. Each playful lesson, each gentle act of guidance carries echoes of the shapeshifter ancestors whose resilience, creativity, and insight flow quietly through him. These moments illustrate that legacy is as much about character and morality as it is about magical ability. Encounters with other magical beings further illuminate Jake's position within a broader mystical continuum. Whether interacting with fellow shapeshifters, cosmic entities, or mystical creatures, he recognizes patterns, respects boundaries, and engages with a subtle understanding of interconnected. These experiences highlight that his lineage is not isolated. It is part of a larger web of magic, stretching across time and space, linking him to the unseen forces that shape Ulu and its history. His awareness allows him to navigate this web gracefully, blending inherited instinct with lived experience to create a harmony that few others achieve. Jake's magical heritage also serves as a mirror for the philosophical aspects of his life. Shape-shifting is, at its core, an expression of adaptability and perception. By embracing change in his form, Jake demonstrates a profound truth. Identity is fluid, and life is an ongoing process of transformation. This principle extends beyond his physical abilities into the way he relates to others, approaches challenges, and understands the universe. His bloodline has endowed him not only with magical power, but with an intuitive grasp of life's impermanence and the beauty of flexibility. Even during his quiet, reflective moments, Jake's legacy resonates deeply. Lying beneath the night sky, listening to the wind, or stretching lazily across soft hills, he embodies a connection that transcends immediate experience. There is a resonance within him, a hum of generations, of lives that have come before, of magic that flows invisibly through his very being. In these moments, one can feel the continuity of his bloodline, the seamless integration of past, present, and potential future, all coalescing in the calm, gentle presence of Jake the dog. Jake's life demonstrates that the true value of legacy lies not in what is inherited, but in how it is expressed. The magic of his shapeshift, the insight of his instincts, and the love he shares are living continuations of his ancestry. Each act, whether small or grand, becomes a thread in a tapestry that spans generations. His life is an ongoing dialogue between the wisdom of the past and the possibilities of the present, a reminder that inheritance is both a responsibility and a gift. Ultimately, Jake's story shows us that legacy is not confined to bloodlines alone. It is woven into actions, decisions, and the quiet ways in which one touches the lives of others. Through his playful transformations, his gentle guidance, and his empathetic presence, Jake extends the wisdom of his ancestors into every corner of Ooh. He becomes a living bridge between history and the unfolding present, a testament to the enduring power of love, magic, and the quiet knowledge that true strength often flows in subtle, almost imperceptible current. In the stillness of night, as Jake lies beside Finn, his family, or simply under the stars, we can sense the fullness of his inheritance. It is a legacy that spans both magical and moral realm, one that honors those who came before while creating new possibilities for the future. Each stretch, each transformation, each quiet act of insight is a tribute to this lineage, a soft, enduring thread that links past, present, and future in a gentle, harmonious flow. Jake the dog, in all his playful, loving, and mystical complexity, carries within him the echoes of generations. His life reminds us that heritage is more than history, it's living, breathing, and evolving. His magic, wisdom, and empathy are all reflections of this enduring bloodline, guiding him as he shapes not only his own story, but the world around him. In embracing his legacy, Jake teaches that true power lies not in dominance, but in understanding, adaptability, and the quiet strength to honor and expand what has been entrusted to us. As we settle into the final chapter of tonight's exploration, we journey into the profound layers of Jake's life, moments where playfulness meets reflection, where joy coexists with the quiet awareness of mortality, and where the magical currents of Ooh intersect with the cosmic truths that shape his being. Tonight we gently follow Jake as he grows into a fuller understanding of life, love, and the vast, mysterious universe around him. Jake's adventures with Finn and their friends often appear as joyous, whimsical exploits filled with laughter and surprise. Yet beneath this playful exterior lies a gradual, almost imperceptible evolution, a deepening awareness of impermanence, change, and the cycles that govern all living things. As he ages, we see him confronting not only challenges in the world outside, but also the inevitable truths that touch every life, that moments are fleeting, that choices carry weight, and that every connection, no matter how joyous, exists within the flow of time. Acceptance becomes a quiet theme in Jake's later experience. He learns through both triumphs and losses that not everything can be controlled, that even the most extraordinary powers have limits, and that true strength often resides in recognizing and embracing these boundaries. In the gentle stretch of his body, in the calm reflection of his gaze, we witness a dog who has learned to harmonize with the rhythms of existence. There is a serenity in this acceptance, a softness in the way he approaches challenges, and a patience that radiates outward to those he loves. Mortality, though rarely spoken of aloud, becomes a subtle presence in Jake's journey. The show's post-apocalyptic setting hints at the fragility and resilience of life, and Jake's long-lived perspective allows him to perceive these truths without despair. He navigates the impermanence of life with an almost meditative grace, understanding that endings are not merely losses, but natural transitions that create space for growth, renewal, and new possibilities. His reflections on mortality are quiet, woven into his actions, his care for others, and the gentle humor he brings even to somber moments. Cosmic growth is another layer of Jake's evolution. Beyond the immediate adventures of Ooh, he senses, whether through dream, vision, or intuitive insight, that the universe is vast, interconnected, and often incomprehensible. He glimpses forces and patterns that operate on scales far beyond ordinary perception, and he learns to navigate these currents without fear. This cosmic awareness does not burden him. Rather, it shapes a profound understanding of perspective. Jake recognizes that his life, while significant, is part of a larger web of existence, a small yet meaningful thread in the intricate tapestry of reality. His friendship with Finn becomes an anchor's cosmic journey. Through the trials they face together, Jake models resilience, adaptability, and compassion. He demonstrates that understanding mortality and embracing cosmic perspective do not diminish joy or love. Instead, they enrich it. Each adventure, each shared laugh, and each quiet moment of reflection becomes infused with a depth that transcends immediate experience, teaching both Finn and the audience about the beauty of presence and the grace inherent in living fully, even amidst uncertainty. Jake's family life also reflects his growth. His relationships with Lady Rainicorn and his pups are layered with insight born of experience. He balances the playful, mischievous energy that defines his early years with the calm guidance and empathy that emerge from maturity. He understands that love is not static. It evolves, adapts, and requires both patience and courage. In his interactions with his family, we see a shapeshifter who has learned that true power lies not in force or display, but in nurturing, understanding, and presence. Through these experiences, Jake embodies the concept of cosmic growth. He learns to perceive the interconnectedness of all things, the influence of past actions, the ripple effects of decisions, and the subtle threads that bind individuals, communities, and the natural world. This awareness is neither heavy nor burdensome. It is a gentle, flowing understanding that allows him to act with care, respond with insight, and move gracefully through challenges that might otherwise overwhelm others. Even in moments of rest, Jake's consciousness reaches outward, sensing the rhythms of the world and the quiet pulse of magic that flows through Ooh. His cosmic awareness is not always dramatic or overt. It is subtle, like the soft glow of the moon reflecting on still water. In these moments, we sense a being attuned not only to the joys and perils of daily life, but also to the larger patterns that govern existence. Jake's reflection on mortality and cosmic awareness also informs his humor and playfulness. He understands the fleeting nature of time, yet he embraces it with joy rather than fear. Every prank, every playful stretch, and every moment of laughter is imbued with a quiet understanding of impermanence. His lightheartedness is deepened, carrying both wisdom and warmth, teaching those around him that life's magic is best appreciated when one balances awareness with delight. As Jake journeys further into his later experiences, we notice a subtle shift in the way he perceives time and consequence. The frenetic pace of earlier adventures softens into a mindful cadence, each moment allowed to unfold with intention. He stretches not only physically, but mentally, opening himself to the quiet truths that lie beneath the surface of everyday life. In these moments, he becomes a guide, not just to Finn and his friends, but to anyone willing to observe and absorb the calm wisdom he exudes. His understanding of mortality deepens through the small, intimate experience of care and loss. Jake learns that life's impermanence is not a source of fear, but a lens through which beauty becomes more vivid. The laughter shared with loved ones, the warmth of a simple hug, the joy in a playful chase. These fleeting moments gain significance precisely because they are ephemeral. Through this lens, Jake's experiences carry a weight that is gentle yet profound, illuminating the interconnectedness of life, love, and choice. Cosmic growth manifests in Jake's expanding perception of his place in Ooh and the universe beyond. He begins to sense that his actions, no matter how playful or small, ripple outward, touching threads unseen and influencing outcomes far beyond immediate view. Whether it is resolving conflict, offering guidance, or simply being present with those he loves, Jake recognizes that his presence matters. This understanding does not burden him with pressure. Instead, it imbues his playful nature with a quiet intentionality, a balance between freedom and responsibility that echoes the wisdom of his lineage. Jake's role as a mentor and parent reflects this growth beautifully. His pups are not only heirs to his magical abilities, but also recipients of his accumulated insight. He teaches them to navigate the world with both curiosity and mindfulness, encouraging playful experimentation while instilling a sense of responsibility. These lessons are never imposed harshly. They are woven seamlessly into daily life, into games, stretches, and gentle conversation. In guiding his children, Jake continues the cycle of legacy, ensuring that the wisdom of his bloodline flows onward while allowing them to forge their own path. Interwoven with these themes is Jake's relationship with Finn, which deepens in subtle, meaningful ways. Their friendship evolves from exuberant adventure to a more reflective companionship. Jake provides counsel without didacticism, comfort without pressure, and insight without insistence. In doing so, he demonstrates that true cosmic understanding is relational. It is expressed not only in self-awareness, but in the ability to nurture, guide, and share perspective with others. Their bond becomes a mirror for the universe itself, reflecting themes of growth, impermanence, and interconnected. Jake's own humor and playfulness adapt in these later moments of life. They are no longer solely the exuberant antics of youth, but are now layered with a quiet wisdom. He knows when to provoke laughter to ease tension, when to stretch boundaries to teach a lesson, and when to remain calm to allow reflection. Each act of levity is infused with understanding, a reminder that joy and wisdom are not opposite, but complementary forces. Through humor, Jake communicates truths that words alone could never convey, offering comfort, insight, and connection in a form that is both gentle and profound. Cosmic growth also finds expression in Jake's relationship with the larger magical and mystical forces of Ulu. He senses subtle energy, perceives patterns, and intuitively understands the ebb and flow of magical currents. This awareness allows him to navigate both danger and opportunity with a calm, deliberate grace. He does not seek control over these forces. Instead, he aligns himself, moving in harmony with their rhythm. This attunement is a reflection of both his magical heritage and the lessons learned through experience, revealing a being who has achieved remarkable balance between personal power and universal understanding. Through all these experiences, Jake demonstrates that acceptance and awareness are intertwined. He embraces the impermanence of life, the inevitability of change, and the vast, interconnected nature of existence. Yet he does so with joy, curiosity, and a playful heart. His life becomes a gentle lesson that awareness of mortality and the vastness of the cosmos need not lead to despair, but can inspire wonder, compassion, and gratitude for every fleeting moment. In quiet nights, as he rests beneath the stars, Jake embodies the culmination of all he has learned: ancestral wisdom, magical heritage, familial love, cosmic understanding, and the soft, enduring joy of being fully present. Each heartbeat, each stretch, each gentle observation becomes a reflection of a life lived in harmony with both the world and the mysteries beyond it. As Jake moves through these later moments of life, there is a profound serenity in the way he perceives existence. He has learned that change is inevitable, that time carries both joy and loss, and that every action, no matter how small, resonates within the delicate web of life. His awareness is not burdensome. Rather, it is a gentle, guiding current that shapes the way he acts, loves, and stretches into the world. Each playful leap and every quiet gesture becomes a reflection of this wisdom, a reminder that even the simplest acts carry weight when approached with mindfulness and heart. In his companionship with Finn, this understanding deepened. Finn has always been energetic, eager, and sometimes reckless, but Jake provides a calm anchor, a perspective that balances exuberance with reflection. Through this relationship, Jake models acceptance and patience, showing that growth is not only about skill or power, but also about emotional maturity and the capacity to understand others. Their bond exemplifies the delicate balance of teaching, guiding, and allowing space for exploration. Jake's presence teaches that love is not only expressed through grand gesture, but through quiet, constant laughter and gentle guidance. Jake's reflections on mortality are intertwined with his awareness of legacy. He recognizes that the footprints we leave behind are both tangible and invisible, that our actions echo in the lives of others and in the threads of time. He embodies a kind of quiet stewardship, honoring the magical and moral inheritance of his bloodline while creating new paths for those who follow. In moments of stillness, stretching under the night sky or curled beside his family, Jake becomes a living reminder that life's impermanence is not to be feared but embraced, that endings are part of the rhythm that makes beginnings possible, and that each life carries the potential to leave lasting impression. Even when faced with loss or the fragility of those he loves, Jake's response is measured by both compassion and wisdom. He does not cling desperately, nor does he dismiss the gravity of change. Instead, he integrates it into his understanding of the universe, modeling resilience and acceptance. In this, he demonstrates a profound emotional intelligence, the ability to feel deeply while maintaining balance, to act with empathy while navigating the impermanence inherent in all life. Cosmic growth reaches its peak in Jake's moments of quiet contemplation. He senses that his existence, while unique, is a part of something infinitely larger, a universe woven with intricate patterns, unseen connections, and cycles that extend far beyond his immediate perception. This understanding does not overwhelm him. Rather, it inspires a humility and curiosity that permeate his being. Jake's laughter, his playful stretches, and even his moments of rest become acts of alignment with these cosmic rhythms, reflecting a harmony between the personal and the universal. Jake also embodies the idea that acceptance and growth are not passive states. They require active engagement, reflection, and a willingness to learn from every encounter, every challenge, and every relationship. He demonstrates that strength lies in awareness, that power is meaningful only when tempered with empathy, and that love and joy gain depth when experienced with full consciousness of life's impermanence. His growth is therefore both internal and external, shaping not only himself but the world around him, touching lives with a quiet yet enduring influence. In the culmination of his journey, Jake's presence radiates a calm, reflective energy. He balances the whimsy of his youth with the wisdom of experience, the playful stretch of his body with the gentle breadth of his understanding, and the magic of his lineage with the cosmic truths of existence. Through his actions, relationships, and quiet moments of reflection, he becomes a guide for those around him, illuminating paths of growth, compassion, and presence. Even in the vast expanse of Oo's post-apocalyptic landscape, amidst cosmic forces and mystical entities, Jake moves with a grace and ease that reflect both acceptance and mastery. His shape-shifting becomes more than a magical skill. It is a metaphor for the adaptability, insight, and emotional intelligence that define his journey. Each transformation mirrors his internal growth, a testament to the harmony he has achieved between body, mind, heart, and cosmos. As Jake's journey unfolds, we see that his understanding of life, mortality, and cosmic existence is not merely an abstract concept, but a living, breathing part of his daily experience. Each adventure, no matter how whimsical or challenging, carries subtle lessons about impermanence, interconnectedness, and the delicate balance of joy and responsibility. He learns that the passage of time is neither to be feared nor rushed, but to be honored, and that every experience, no matter how small, is imbued with significance. Jake's perception of mortality deepens, not through fear, but through quiet observation and reflection. He witnesses change in his friends, in his family, and in the world around him, and he integrates these observations into a serene acceptance. Loss, transformation, and the fading of moments become not sources of sorrow alone, but reminders that life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. He moves with a gentle rhythm, one that reflects understanding rather than resistance, embracing both the joys and sorrows that define existence in Ooh. Cosmic growth in Jake's life is equally subtle yet profound. He senses the vastness of the universe, the ebb and flow of magical currents, and the invisible threads that connect beings, places, and events. This awareness does not intimidate him. Instead, it inspires a contemplative curiosity. Jake understands that he is part of something far greater than himself, a link in an eternal tapestry that stretches across time, space, and reality. In aligning with this flow, he develops an effortless grace, responding to challenges and opportunities with intuition, wisdom, and a gentle steadiness that guides both himself and those around him. His friendships deepen under this new lens of awareness. Finn, ever youthful and adventurous, finds in Jake not only a loyal companion, but a living example of wisdom tempered by playfulness. Jake's guidance is never heavy-handed. It is an extension of his lived understanding, offering insight through laughter example, and shared experience. Together, they navigate the complexities of OO, from the simplest quests to encounters with cosmic forces, and through these shared moments, Jake teaches that growth, love, and courage are inseparable from awareness and reflection. Family life becomes a profound mirror of Jake's evolving consciousness. With Lady Rainicorn and his pups, he demonstrates patience, empathy, and the nuanced understanding that love requires both freedom and care. His interactions are layered with quiet lessons. The magic of his lineage is present, yes, but more importantly, so is the moral inheritance, the wisdom to wield power responsibly, the empathy to nurture, and the calm resilience that comes from understanding the impermanence of life. Jake teaches them that every choice has impact, that every stretch or transformation is a reflection not only of ability, but of intention and care. Even in his moments of solitude, Jake's awareness resonates with cosmic significance. He senses patterns, rhythms, and energies that most could not perceive, responding intuitively and harmoniously. His quiet stretches, the tilt of his head toward the stars, or the slow movement of his limbs through the grass, all reflect a being in alignment with the universe. There is a poetry in these movements, a subtle choreography that mirrors the flow of existence itself. Through this, Jake becomes a teacher not only of action, but of presence, showing that awareness and mindfulness are as vital as courage and strength. Jake's humor and playfulness evolve too, enriched by awareness. No longer only the carefree antics of youth, his jokes, pranks, and playful stretches carry the weight of insight. Laughter becomes both a balm and a lesson, a way to soften hardships, connect hearts, and illuminate truths gently. Through this humor, Jake communicates wisdom without words, offering comfort and perspective to those around him, while maintaining the light-hearted essence that has always defined his spirit. As night falls across OO, we see Jake in a final, serene moment, lying beneath the stars, stretching across the soft earth, his gaze both contemplative and tender. The accumulated wisdom of his lineage, the lessons of mortality, and the insights of cosmic growth converge within him. He embodies the balance of joy and reflection, the harmony of power and empathy, the serenity that comes from truly understanding one's place in the world and the universe. Jake the dog, in all his playful, loving, and mystical complexity, becomes more than a companion or a hero. He is a living meditation on acceptance, growth, and interconnected. His life reminds us gently that understanding impermanence enriches joy, that love gains depth when tempered with awareness, and that true strength flows from harmony with both self and universe. As we watch him rest, stretch, and breathe alongside the quiet night, we are reminded to embrace the fleeting, luminous moments of our own lives. Good night.